What's up, guys? This is Kyurem from the Trinity of Lift, and today I bring all of you guys a Yosenju deck profile. Over the course of these past couple days, since the Secret Forces did release, I was able to pretty much get all of the Yosenju deck completely built, and I just wanted to bring you guys the list that I've been personally testing on YGO Pro. So let's get right into it. First off, for the monsters, we obviously start off with the 3 Yosenju, 1. He is your walking compulse of the deck, and he combos very well with all the other the other Yosenju commas in the deck, the 2 and the 3. So that's our first Yosenju. Next up, we run the 3 Yosenju, 2. This guy is the biggest one out of the Yosenju commas, and what he does is he allows you to poke your opponent directly for damage, although that damage is halved. So he really can help you steal some games at times, and he's very useful in general. Finally, for the last Yosenju, we play the 3 Yosenju, 3. He is the searcher of the deck. Whenever a Yosenju does damage to your opponent by via battle, you do get to search a Yosenju monster from your deck and add it to your hand. Again, they all combo off of each other. All of them being able to basically normal summon another copy of a Yosenju, really helps you get your big push plays going, and that's why we run 3 of each. Next up, we run 3 Yosenju Sujik. He is a good part of our combo because what he basically does is every time he's on the field once per turn, he is able to boost another Yosenju monster up by 1,000 attack points. So that really helps us poke for damage or help our normal summonable Yosenjus get big enough where we can run over some major threats to the deck. And as well as if you ever have a Yosenju on your board for whatever reason and you have Sujik in hand, he also functions like a Blackwing Kalute, where you can discard him and give your one of your Yosenju monsters 1,000 attack points. So he's very good in our combo plays. Finally, for the final Yosenju monster, we do play 2 Yosenju Magat. What he basically does is he helps us combo off of our Yosenju summons, helps us get a pretty big monster on board, as well as he is a pretty good combo piece. Is what he does is whenever he is normal summoned, you can special summon a Yosenju monster from your deck. So this really helps you keep your combos going and helps you really swarm the field and put big damage on board. And then finally, for the final monster, because this is a win deck, we do play the 1 Tempest, Dragon Ruler of Storms. What Tempest really does, although his discard effect isn't used at all in the deck, what he does is he allows us to really push for damage and gives us instantaneous damage on board whenever we might need it. So yeah, the 1 Tempest. So that's it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells, we start off with 3 Fire Formation Tenki. Tenki pretty much searches everything, all the Yosenju commas as well as the Yosenju Sujik from the deck. So having the 3 Tenki to search and get your consistency up is always a good thing. As well as it gives your Yosenjus that much needed 100 attack boost. And believe me, if you get your Tenkis on board like 2 or even 3 Tenkis, you really start making your smaller Yosenju monsters pretty big, and then you can really start going for that big damage. Next up, we play 3 Pot of Duality. Since all the Yosenju commas normal summon each other as an additional normal summon, you can really function under Pot's restriction of not being able to special summon, as all it really does is restrict you from going into the extra deck. And this deck honestly doesn't have to go into the extra deck all that often. The only time you do have to go into the extra deck is when you need to have an out to something specific. So really, Pot of Duality doesn't hurt, and digging for that 1 extra card is always good, and it keeps up your consistency. Next up, another 3 of, we play 3 Mystical Space Typhoon. Again, pretty standard in majority of the decks nowadays with Cleafort and whatnot running around. You want to have the 3 MST. So yeah, 3 MST. Next up, we do play the 1 Divine Wind of the Mist Valley. For those of you who don't know what this card does, what it reads is that once per turn, if a wind monster you control returns to the hand, except during the damage step, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower wind monster from your deck. So what this helps you do is, because the way Yosenju work and how they constantly will be bouncing back to your hand, there are many times when you will have basically a clear board for your opponent to just hit you with assuming you don't have any of your traps or whatever, but still, you won't have any monsters on board. So what this field spell does is, when your Yosenjus do bounce back to your hand during your end phase, Divine Wind of the Mist Valley will help you keep your board presence at least a little bit by being able to special summon another Yosenju from your deck. So this helps in your survivability, and really, with the amount of damage that can be put on board nowadays, it's always good to have something on board at least, so you don't get OTK'd. Next up for the spells, we do play the one-dimensional Fissure. This deck can function under D-Fissure pretty well. The reason being is that since they constantly will keep getting sent back to hand, your Yosenjus really won't get destroyed all that much unless you overlay them or whatnot. So having the D-Fissure to slow down your opponent is very good, and it helps. It really helps you in a lot of your matchups, because then your opponent's gonna start recycling their resources and whatnot. So having the D-Fissure to slow down your opponent and really burn them out of their resources, I should say, is very nice. Next up for the spells, we play the one Snatch Steal because, well, Snatch Steal is a good card and it's pretty much obligatory in almost every deck. Then we do play, oddly enough, we do play the one Raigeki and the double Dark Hole in this deck. The reason why I like to have all these board clearing cards is because, firstly, your Yosenjus, if you change some of them by keep normal summoning them over and over, you really can start putting damage on board, and you can get really close to OTK, if not OTK your opponent outright with your monsters. So having the Raigeki for that, to clear your opponent's board, is always nice. But also we run the 2 Dark Hole because, firstly, you want to have your outs to the Necros, Jinlock, and whatever. So you want to have outs to that, and you want to have more of it. So we do have the Dark Holes and the Raigeki. But also the reason why we have the Dark Hole is because since our Yosenjus will constantly keep bouncing themselves from your field back to your hand, there are many times when your board will be clear so that you can just Dark Hole for free, and it basically turns the Dark Hole into a Raigeki, essentially. So that's why we run all 3. So that is it for the spells. Moving on to the traps, we do play 3 Yosenju Secret Move. What this card essentially is a Satellar Nova Alpha for the deck, except that you don't have to tribute for the cost. The good thing about Yosenju Secret Move is that as long as you have any Yosenju on field, you can negate any spell, trap, or monster effect, and negate it and pretty much continue with your plays. So this card is extremely good in the deck, and it really helps for when you want to push for damage and your opponent might respond with something like a Deep Prison Mirror Force or whatever. So having the Secret Move to negate stuff really helps in your longevity and helps with your staying power. Next up, we do run the 3 Vanity's Emptiness. Because again, like I said, we keep normal summoning rather than special summoning. This deck can function under Vanities, and Vanities pretty much can win you duels against things like Necros and Burning Abyss, because without their special summon, they really get slowed down. So that's why we do run the 3 Emptiness. Next up, much like D-Fissure, we do run the 1 Macrocosmos for the same reason as we run D-Fissure, because we won't be sending a lot of our monsters to the grave very much outside of detaching them from our XYZ monsters. This deck can really function under these powerful cards, and it will really slow down your opponent. Next up, we do run 2 Mirror Force. The reason why we run Mirror Force is much like what I said back in the hero profile with Dark Law. Since we do run Macro and Dimensional Fissure, if we Mirror Force our opponent when we do have either of those 2 cards on board, what we essentially do is deprison our entire opponent's board, which is extremely broken, and it's such a great play, and it really helps you slow down your opponent, banish all their cards, and then it can really help you come back. So having the 2 Mirror Force for those occasions, as well as to just keep your longevity going when you do not have any monsters on board, is always very good. Finally, for the last card we play in the deck, we do play the 1 Bottomless, primarily for the Cleefort matchup whenever they Pendulum Summon or whatnot, but still, Bottomless is still a pretty good card now, as you can stop your opponent's Trishulas and Valkyria summons and yada yada yada. You know what Bottomless does, so Bottomless is still a very good card. So that is it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, we start off with 1 Harpy's Pet Phantasmal Dragon. This card is very good in the deck because you can make it pretty consistently. And having the Harpy's Pet Dragon to poke for damage really puts pressure on the board. as well as it can semi-fuel your grave, I guess, for your Tempest plays if you ever want to push for even more damage. But still, Harpy's Pet Dragon is very good. Next up, we do play 2 Madolche Queen Tiramisu because we can totally make it in this deck. I'm just completely kidding, guys. This is not serious. What these 2 Tiramisu should be is 2 Lightning Chidori. But the reason being is that I currently don't have them. I have a trade organized to get me my 2 Chidori, but I just don't have it in my possession yet. But keep in mind that Lightning Chidori should be here instead of the Tiramisus. Lightning Chidori is very strong in the deck. It really is your out to a lot of things by bouncing things to either the bottom or the top of the deck. And you should run it at 2 because that's probably the thing that you'll probably go into the most. So yeah, 2 Lightning Chidori. Next up, for another 2 of, we do play 2 Gagaga Cowboy. This is actually pretty funny. The reason why I do run 2 Cowboy is because there is going to be many times when you do end up summoning about 4 Yosenju in one turn. So usually I don't believe that there is any combination of 4 Yosenju monsters that can get you an OTK. However, if we do end up getting that playoff, I think we'll always be in the range where we can double Cowboy our opponent for that OTK push. So that is the reason why we do run the 2 Cowboy. Just the way we can spam rank 4s and just the perfect amount of damage that we aren't able to produce to get the 8,000 points of damage on board. We do run those 2 Cowboys to push for that 8,000. So next up, we run the 1 Tiger King because this is a Beast Warrior deck, and in my opinion, any Beast Warrior deck should run a Tiger King because it's essentially an entire field skill drain for everything that isn't a Beast Warrior. Next up, we run the 1 Bujinte Kagutsuchi. We can make this with any 2 level 4 Beast Warriors, much like Tiger King. And what Kagutsuchi does is he essentially is our rank 4 wall of the deck. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Battling Boxer Lead Yoke, but essentially Kagutsuchi is the exact same thing, but it's slightly bigger than Yoke. So having that staying power as well as having that big 2.5k body is very good, and it really helps keep your monsters on board if you think you might get OTK'd or whatnot, so you have to overlay your Yosenjus into this. So having this as that fallback is always very nice, and it keeps you from getting OTK'd. Next up, we run staple rank 4s in the form of Abyss Dweller, number 50 Black Ship of Corn, 1 Lavavo Chain for stacking stuff, the 1 Castel to spin stuff back to deck, the 1 Rhapsody in Berserk for banishing our opponent's any of our opponent's monsters that they might have, especially in the Niklot matchup. The 1 Daigusto Emerald for whenever we might have a little bit too much Yosenjus in grave and when we want to get them back into deck. The 1 Exiton Knight to nuke the field. And then finally, the 1 101 because stealing our opponent's monsters is fun. So guys, that is it for my Yosenju deck profile. Please let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below of this list. Keep in mind that you guys didn't see any of the Pendulum monsters because I feel that they harmed the consistency of the deck. But I might look into looking for a Pendulum build, and I'll give you guys an updated list maybe soon. So again, tell me what you guys think of this Yosenju list down in the comment section below. And as always, this is Kyurem from the Trinity of Lift, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.